Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. Welcome to our Shabbat morning service. I hope everyone has had a very restful Shabbat so far. I'm so glad that you are joining me, joining us, our family, for this Shabbat, a time where we can just let the stress go. Let the busyness of the week we can let the world be for one day. It'll be there for us to pick up at the end of Shabbat. So sit back, relax, enjoy the music, enjoy the words of Torah. We are praying out of Siddur Lev Shalem for Shabbat and festival. The Siddur is on our website, aieamontgomery.org, as a PDF that you can follow the service, or better yet, if you have the book at home, or even better, a Siddur that you are comfortable with and know the pages. We begin with the Birchot HaShachar, the blessings of the morning. We rise, page 103. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech v'vina, lavkin ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani b'tzomo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shesani ben Chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shesani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Pokeach Ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Mabish Aramim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Zokef Kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Rekal haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamechin mitzrei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, She'asa likot tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oz Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ot Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Anotein la'oev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Amen. Uteneinu hayom v'choyom l'chein l'chesed rachamim b'necha v'nechoen v'tigmalenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai Gomer chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. You may be seated. We continue page 112. Again, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Welcome to Virginia, Lisa, Donna, and Kathy. I hope all of you are doing well. And Bert, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. I'm glad you're with us this morning. I had a bit of a high-pitched whine from the sound system last night. Tried to work on it this morning. I hope that the sound is a little bit better for those that were here last night that can see the difference, hear the difference. Hopefully I'll get somebody in this week where we can start replacing some of this antiquated equipment. Sorry, we can't replace me. I'm probably the most antiquated equipment here, but I'm here for now. Probably need a tune-up. Anyway, we continue page 112 of Psalm 92. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh Hayom Omrim B'Veit HaMikdash Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Od Yenuvun besev de shinim chanim yu lagit yesharanait suri velo avlatabo. Page 120, Psalm 30. Mizmar shir chanakat ba'ile David. Thank you very much, Kathy. הפכת מספדי למחולי ביטקתי סקי ועזכני שמחה למען שמח ולא ידום אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודך. We rise, page 122, for Psukei Zimra. We begin with Baruch She'amar. Yai lai 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 ya la lai la lai la lai yai la lai 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 ya la lai la lai la la lai yai lai la 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 lai ya la lai la 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 lai ya la lai la la lai ya la lai lai yai lai la la lai ya la 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 lai ya la lai la la lai ya la lai la 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 lai ya lai la 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 lai ya la lai la lai 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 ya la lai la lai la la lai ya lai la lai 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 Baruch She'amar v'haya olam Baruch Hu Sevireshit Baruch Omevi Yosef Baruch Gozer Kayem Baruch Merachim Alaretz Baruch Merachim Ala Briot Baruch Mishalem Sachar Tov L'Reyav Baruch Hailad V'Kayam Lanetzach Baruch Podeo Matzio Baruch Shemo Yai lai la 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 ya la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ho'el v'rachamam ha'mehula b'fiamo mishabach b'yoshon chasidav avadav uv'shirei David avdecha nehalelech Adonai Eloheinu Yachid Chelmi Melech Mishabach V'Dishma Gado Baruch Adonai Melech Mehulal B'Tishbachot. You may be seated. We continue page 136 with Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yalalucha Selah. Derech Yodech must be l'cherut on tzadikim. Tehillat Adonai bar pi v'vorek u'b'ser shem kodsho le'olam v'ad v'anachni nivarechya me'ata v'yolam hallelujah. Page 141, Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 b'kodsho, hallelujah, b'kiyahuzo, hallelujah, v'gvurotav, hallelujah, karav gudlo, hallelujah, hallelujah, Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, beteka shofar. Hallelu, beneve vechinor. Hallelu, betofu macho. Hallelu, beminim vihugav. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, v'tziat leishama. Hallelu, v'tziat re'trua. Kol en shama, tehaleluya. Hallelu, hallelujah. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Hallelu, hallelu, hallelu. Kol en shama, tehaleluya. Hallelujah. Kol en shama, tehaleluya. Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Le'olam Amen v'Amen. Baruch Emetzion Shechein Yerushalayim Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisro Senif Lelevado. Uvaruch Shem Kavodo Le'olam Yimelech V'et Koretz. Amen v'Amen. Page 145. Nishmat Kochai Tivarech et Shimecha Adonai Eloheinu. Page 146. Mi Mitzrayim Keltanu Hananai Yulina Bebe Tavadim Bede Tanu. Mi'ed melach mishvelach mi'aharoch lachoi l'gadol gibor v'hanora el elyon gnei shamayim v'aretz nhalelachon shabechacha und v'rechet shem kodeshecha kamur LaDavid parchi nafshi atadonai v'chol keravayet shem kodesho Ibtaz muzecha gadol bechavod shemecha hagibor lenetzach v'nomenotecha hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram v'nisa shochen ahad maharom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai l'shirim navatihila Befihi Yisharim Titalahu Uvdivrei Tzadikim Titbarach Uvyoshon Chasidim Titromam Uvekerev Kedoshim Titkadash Umagalohot Revavot Amachobet Yisrael Lo dohod lehalel shabeach lefer leramim ladeleverek lalelo kales al kol divrei shirot v'tishbachot David ben Yishai avdecha mishichecha yishtabach shimecha la'ad malkeinu. Page 148. Baraku hod vehodod mi'atav yad ulam Baruch atah Adonai melech gadol batishbachot helodot Adonai niflot habocher b'shirei zimara melecheo chei ha'olamim. There are several times in the service where we just take a pause. And again, I like to say we take a collective breath. With each exhale, we let a little bit of the week just dissipate. That stress that's been with us, building for the entire week, which comes to a crescendo when we finish our labors on Friday. On Shabbat, we have a chance to just push it away. Several times during the service, when we transition from one part to the next, I like to just take a moment, listen to the silence, listen to no input coming in, nothing that's going to cause me stress coming in, but me letting it out. We now transition to Shacharit, the morning service, and we start with the call to worship the Baraku, page 149. Please rise if you are able. Baruchu et Adonai Amevorach, Baruch Adonai Amevorach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam, Yotzer V'rei Choshech, Oseh Shalom V'rei et Hakol. You may be seated, and welcome to Diane, Marcia, and Chazan Charles to our service this morning. We're on the fourth line of page 150. Hakol yoduch v'hakol yishabechucha. Ein kirchach Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh v'yein zulatach machen l'chayei olam haba. Hefes p'yotach kol leilamot HaMashiach v'yein do melech HaMoshienu letchiyat hametim. Page 151. Ladon hakol hamasim baruch umvorach Befi kol neshama gadlo v'tuvo malei olam datu dvuna sovevi moto amit goe achayot hakodesh v'nedar bechavod ala merkava Zechutu mishor lifnei chiso chesed verachamim lifnei chevodo tovim miyorot sheba Eloheinu yetzaram bedat bevina uvaskel koach ugvura natan bahem Liot moshlim bekerev tevel meleim ziv umefikim noga nazivam bechol haolam smechim betzetam besafsim bevoam osim biyema retzon konam be'er v'chavod notnim lishmo tzalaverina lezecher malechuto kara lashemesh vayizrachor ravehit kin surat alevana shevach נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ויופנים וחיות הקודש. לאל ששבת מכל המשים ביום, מה שהתעלה וישב על כיסא כבודו. Page 152. תתברך מושיענו שבח מעשיך ויאמר שעשית יפרוך הסלע. Page 153. תתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו ברי קדושים. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושת תורה, בשירה וזמרה, וערכים שבחים דברים מריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם אל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונודרים רשות זה לזה, להקדיש לעצמם מנחת רוח בשפה ברורה ונימה קדושה, כולם כחרונים ויאמרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך על הארץ כבודו. ואופנים וחיות הקודש ברש קדום מנצל מצרפים נמתם משבחים ויאמרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ואל ברוך נימות ייתנו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. Page 154. אהבה רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חמלה גדולה ותך חמלת עלינו. אבינו מלכנו, בעבור אבותינו, שבטחו בך, שבטחו בך, אבינו מלכנו, ותלמדנו חוקי חיים, כן תחננו למדנו, אבינו אב הרחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות. וקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה. והננו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ויראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קדשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פה הישועת אתה, ובנו בחרת מקום ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע. באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה אם שמוע תשמעו אל מצוותי אשר אנוכי. ויאמר אדוני משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת להם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם ונתנו על ציצית הקנה פתיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. לדור ודו קיים ושמו קיים וחיסונכון מלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. We're on page 157, fourth line from the top of the page. And since we last checked in, welcome to Bonnie and Jack London from the villages. Jack and Michelle Zucker back in Scottsdale, and Lisa Siegel. Let's see, who else do I see? That's it. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Udvar Chaim Chaim. Emet Shatar Adonai Eloheinu v'levatenu malkeinu melech avotenu goelenu goel avotenu. Yotzenu yushatenu podenu matzilenu milam shemecha. Ein Elohim zulatecha. Ezrat avotenu atahu me'olam. And Spencer and Kristen as well. Shabbat Shalom. I hope the cats are not scared today. Page 158. Cham v'nisa gadol v'nora mashpil geim umagbi ashfalim motzi asirim foden avim v'yozedalim v'yon eliamo b'yet shavam elav tilod le'elad yon brachum vrach Moshe uvnei Yischalach hanishira b'simcha rabah v'yameru chulam mi chamocha Bo'elim Adonai mi kamocha Nedor Bakodesh, Nora Tehilot, O Seifele, Shira Chadasha, Shibechu Geulim, Neshimcha, Asafatayam, Yachad Kulamodu, Tehim Lichu V'yameru, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Voed, Tzur Yisrael, Kuma B'ezrat Yisrael, V'techinu Mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai, Tzavot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. We rise for the Shabbat morning Amidah. We begin page 159. We pray the first three Barachot, blessings out loud together, and then we continue through page 166, and we recite the final four Barachot. We pray in Hebrew, we pray in English, or the best language of all, the language of the heart. Page 159. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanura El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Dovim v'Konei Akol V'zocher chastei avot, umevigo elifnei v'neihem l'man shemo b'yahava, melech ozer fakir u'moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham, ufoked Sarah, atah gibor li'olam Adonai, mechaye mitim atarav lahoshia, mashiv haruach, u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye meitim berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verhofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayim emunato, lishenei afar, michamocham bal givurot, umidom melach, Melech memit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman lachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam Kishem Shema Kadishim Oto Bishmei Marom Kakatuv Hayad Neviyecha V'karazel Ze V'yamar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzivahod, Malach ha'aretz kevodo. Az beko rashkado v'cha zakam adir mashmim ko. Oh, mitnaseim leumat serafim leumatam Baruch yomeru Baruch v'Adonai mimkomo mimkom chamalkeinu tofiya V'timloch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach Matai timloch Betzion Bekarov biyameinu leolam voed tishkon titgadal v'titgadash betoch Yerushalayim mirecha ledor vador lenetzach netzachim ve'einenu tirena malechutecha kadavar hamur b'shirei uzecha al yedei David Mashiach tzidkecha Ya la la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Yimloch Adonai lelam Elohai Zion ledor vador Hallelujah Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushat nakdish, kedushat nakadish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu layamush leolam leolam voed ledor vador ledor vador ledor vador nagid god lecha ledor vador ledor vador ledor vador nagid god lecha Ki Amelech Gado Gado v'kadosh 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 atam Ki Amelech Gado Gado v'kadosh 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 ata ledor vador ledor vador ledor vador nagid god lecha ledor vador ledor vador ledor vador nagid god lecha baruch ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Ose shalom imramav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imau amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. We now will transition to our virtual Torah service, beginning on page 168. I'm going to switch the cam views over to our Ark Cam, please rise if you are able for the Torah service. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai v'ein k'maasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim numemshaltecha bechodor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam voed Adonai oz li'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'sholom, avarachamim heitiv avirtzoncha et Sion. Tivnech omod Yerushalayim, tivnech omod Yerushalayim, ki vecha levad batachnu, melech erham v'nisa, adon olamim. Vayehi ben Aharon, vayomer Moshe, kuma Adonai, V'yafutzu oyevecha, v'yanusu misanecha, mipanecha, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai mi'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Li'amo Yisrael B'kedushato. Avinu Malkeinu, Master of Peace, help us and strengthen us, so that we always strive for peace. May there be harmony among all people, their companions and friends. May there be no discord among members of my family. You who establish peace above, extend peace upon us and the whole world. May we draw close to you and your Torah in truth, and may we all be bound together, carrying out your will wholeheartedly. Master of peace, bless us with peace. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Oneramema Shemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Agedula, V'hagevura, V'hatiferet, V'hanetzach v'hahod, ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz, ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz, lecho Adonai hamamlacha, v'yamid nahaseh lecho lerosh romemu, romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu, v'hishtachavu, lahadom raglav kadoshu, romimu, romimu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu, v'hishtachavu, lahar kadsho, ki kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu. You may be seated. Check one thing. We are in the Torah portion called Chaye Sarah, which literally means the life of Sarah, but it begins with her death. We are in the third triennial, so we actually will begin towards the end of this portion, which will be Genesis chapter 24, verse 53. It actually catches the story in the middle of the task that Abraham's servant Eliezer is told to perform by going. Eliezer is Abraham's servant, head of his household, and Abraham sends Eliezer to the land that Abraham came from before God told him to Lech Lecha, go away from the house of your father, the house of your birth, the land that you came from, and God brought Abraham to Canaan, where he is right now. But the rest of his family remained in Haran. At this point, Abraham has given birth to Isaac. Isaac is of marriageable age, so he sends Eliezer to go back to his family's house and find him a bride from amongst his kinsmen in Haran. And so we pick up the story after Eliezer has arrived in Haran and bargains with God that how will he know who the right one to pick is, who the right bride for Isaac is, and he says to God, whatever woman comes down to the well and gives me drink after my long journey, and then gives drink to my camel, I will know that she is this particular chosen one for Isaac's bride. And Rebekah comes down. She does exactly that. Eliezer then gives her a valuable nose ring and bracelets made of silver and gold, and that's where we pick up our story. Genesis chapter 53, verse 24. I'll do 3 aliyot. By the way, when we go back to hybrid services or in-person services, not sure when that'll be, but it might be in November sometime. We will go back to doing all 7 aliyot with a haftorah. But for now, when we're just online only, suffice it that we will do 3 aliyot, and I'll do the translation, and so we can discuss where we are in the story. Of course, later on I'll talk about the story in a little bit more detail. Genesis 53, verse 24. Vayotze ha'eved kilei chesef uchlei zahav uvgadim vayitein livrivka umigdanot natan lachiha ul imaha v'yochelu vayishtuhu v'hanashim asher imoho v'yalhinu v'yakumu v'boker v'yomer shlachuni laduni v'yomer achi havima teshev anar itanu yamimo asor achar telech v'yomer alehem al ta'acharu oti v'adonai hitzliach darki shalchuni ve'elecha la'odini v'yomeru nikra lana aha v'nish'ala et piha v'yikru l'rivka v'yomeru eleha ha'telechi im ha'ish hazeh v'tomer elech. and this translates to: the servant brought out objects of silver and gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah, and he gave presents to her brother and her mother. Then he and the men with him ate and drank, and they spent the night. When they arose next morning, he said, "Give me leave to go to my master." But her brother and her mother said, "Let the maiden remain with us some 10 days, then you may go." He said to them, "Do not delay me. Now that the Lord has made my errand successful, give me leave that I may go to my master." And they said, "Let us call the girl and ask for her reply." They called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" And she said, "I will." The thing that that's interesting about this verse is we don't think that in ancient societies and some modern societies that the woman has a choice as to whether she will agree to marry someone. In this particular story, in this particular text of Genesis, a very ancient text, it's very clear that the woman has every right to say yes or no to a marriage that it looks like her mother and her brother made. So I find that refreshing that we see some evidence of women's rights even in the text of the Torah. Second Aliyah, Genesis chapter 24, verse 59. Vayishalachu et Rivka achotam et minikta v'et Eved Avraham v'et anashav vayivarachu et Rivka vayomeru la achoteinu at chayil elfei rivavha vayirash zarech et shar son av vatakom Rivka v'na'aroteha Vatirkavna al hagmalim vatelachna achareha ish vayikacha Eved et Rivka vayelach. And so they sent off their sister Rebekah and her nurse, along with Abraham's servant and his men, and they blessed Rebekah and said to her, "O sister, may you grow into thousands of myriads. May your offspring seize the gates of their foes." Then Rebekah and her maids arose, mounted the camels, and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And the third Aliyah, Genesis 24, verse 62. Vayitzchak ba mibo be'er lachai rohi v'hu yoshe be'eretz hanegev. Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh lifnot arev vayisayin havayar v'hineg malim ba'im. ותישא רבקה את עיניה, ותראה את יצחק, ותיפול מעל הגמל, ותאמר אל העבד, מי האיש הזה הולך בשדה לקראתנו? ויאמר העבד, הוא אדוני, ותיקח הצעיף, ותתכעס. ויספר העבד ליצחק את כל הדברים אשר עשה, ויבא יצחק האוהל לשרה עמו, ויקח את רבקה, ותהי לו לאישה, ויאהביה, וינחם יצחק אחרי אמו. Isaac had just come back from the vicinity of Be'er Lahai-Roi. That's a city, a name of a city that we've heard before. That's the city where Hagar had run away from her mistress Sarah after Sarah mistreated her. And she put the child down, Yishmael, to die because they had wandered, they had no food and water, and an angel of God met Hagar and said, "No, you will not die here, and your child will not die here. Your child will rise to be a great nation of 12 tribes." And Hagar then opened her eyes. She saw a well and was able to give food and drink to her child and herself, and they lived. And she called that place Lahai-Roi, the same place that we find Isaac in. So Isaac had come back from the vicinity of Be'er Lahai-Roi, but he was settled in the region of the Negev. And Isaac went out walking in the field toward the evening, and looking up he saw camels approaching. Raising his eyes, Rebekah saw Isaac. She alighted from the camel and said to the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field towards us?" And the servant said, "That is my master." So she took her veil and covered herself. The servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Isaac then brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he took Rebekah as his wife. Isaac loved her, and thus found comfort after his mother's death. So at the beginning of the portion, because it's called Chayei Sarah, I told you we begin with Sarah's death. That's Isaac's mother. And Isaac was much distressed until he was as it says, he was going out to the field he went out walking in the field to meditate. And towards the evening, we say that Isaac, being one of the three patriarchs, was responsible for creating the afternoon service, the mincha service, towards evening. And this is the verse where we get that from. And we also have the first time the Torah uses the word ahav, to love. This is the first time where a man and woman are found to love each other in the Torah. It's not as we think someone is purchasing the property of another. It's not for procreation. It is out of love that we get together. And the Bible proves that in this particular verse. Very comforted by these words of the Torah. Let's see. There it is. I will now offer a mishaberach for those in and out of our community in need of a special healing, special blessing for physical, spiritual, or emotional healing. Mi sheberach avutin Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Sovko Rachav Leahu Yivarech Verapeh et Terry Aronov, Helen Byrne, Rhonda Blitz, Baruch Ben Elisheva, Arnott Fast, Sheila Guidry, Chana Batzar, Linda Smith, Marjorie Allen, Charles Miller, Sherry Russ, Iris Bat Rivka, Becca Martinez, Isaac Ben Joseph, Marcia Orange, Elisheva Batzara, Harav Malkisedek Ben Barucha, Jerry Weisenfeld, Kay Booley, Jeannie Miser, Miriam Batinam, Tara Martinez Fernandez, Liz Wolko, Deanna Barber, Miriam Bat Rivka, Taraz Bat Ruth, Mark Platnick, Merlone Jermaine Barnes, Virginia Madden, Raymond Labato Jr., Natalie Copeland, Christopher Hill, Todd Bapp, Ed Jackman, Scott Decker, Bela Basrivka, William Williams, Marilyn Fadomsky, Wayne Knox, Jim Mittenswy, Lucy and Tilly Colwell, Danny and B.J. Bierman, Sheila Decker, Eugene Labato, and Dana Driscoll. Please go ahead and type in chat if you would like me to add any names to the Mishaberach list. Yael bat Nami Rivka bat Gittel, and Gittel Tamar bat Miriam. And any other names that I have inadvertently forgotten to add. Viet kolachim b'kila kedusha Agudath Etz Ahayem v'kila temple Bethor kadosh baruchim alei rachamim aleihem lachazichem rabatam v'shlachleim merfor shlim min hashamat nefesh v'udaguf b'toch sha'ach olei Yisrael v'chazek yidei askin b'tzarchehem hashtabeg alav zman kariv v'nomar Amen. I wish all those suffering a refuah shlema, a complete and quick healing. If I can get that out of my mouth, sorry. We will now return the virtual Sefer Torah. Please rise, page 183. Yehallelu et Shem Adonai, Ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayaren keren le'amo, tila lecho chasidav lifnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah, mizmor leDavid. Havu ladonai b'nei Elim, havu ladonai kavod vos, havu ladonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai alamayim, ela kavod hirim Adonai omahim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim v'shaber Adonai et alzei halvanon v'yarkidem kemo egel Levanon v'siryon kemo v'enreimim Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh Kol Adonai yachil midbar Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh Kol Adonai yecholeo ayalot v'yechesop nyahachot Uvehechalo kulo merkavod Adonai lamabul yashav Yeshev Adonai melech leolam Adonai oz liamo yiten Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom Uvnucho yomar Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazovu Etz Ahayem lamachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar Deracheha tarchenoam v'chonetivo oteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva kadesh amenu kekeh You may be seated. So we will not begin the service over again for Irene. I'm so glad that she's here to be with us. Thank you. Welcome to everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I did not see that we had... okay. Okay, now I'm organized, sort of. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Shabbat. I know that as our service goes along, I can just feel every once in a while I just take a breath. I hope we all do that. By the way, stay hydrated as well. As each minute of Shabbat passes, I feel all of that stress just vanishing. I look forward so much to being with you at Kabbalat Shabbat on Friday nights, Shabbat service on Saturday mornings, and I also really look forward to Havdalah at the end of Shabbat tonight at 7 via Zoom. I hope you all can join us. And just one thing in passing, 2 weeks from today, believe it or not, we're in November already, okay? 2 weeks from today, November 13th, we will be having a bar mitzvah here at Agudath Etz Ahayem for Aaron Aronov. That's the son of Lori and Owen Aronov. This will be a family, the only family will be in the building, but the best thing of all is it will be online. So you will be able to see a happy celebration in 2 weeks. In fact, we'll have a full Torah service like I just promised you we would do soon. And for a wonderful, wonderful family, and you will hear the efforts of Aaron, who's been studying with me for about 4 years, actually. And I really, really look forward to this, as I do for every life cycle event, but especially the bar mitzvahs. I look forward to the ufrufs. I look forward to the baby namings. We're going to have a baby naming in January. We're going to have a ufruf sometime at the beginning of next year. And then towards the end of next year, about a year from now, I'm told that we're going to have a wedding in Montgomery. So for Kristen and Spencer Goldstein in October of 2022. Okay, I was told that last time I got the whole month wrong. I hope I got it right this time. Words have the power to express ideas. But as expressive as words can be, they can sometimes be limiting. Often music can give soul and meaning to ideas that words cannot. There are motifs and modes to our prayer services, everyone. Whether it's Shabbat, a weekday service, a holiday service for Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, high holidays, Tisha B'Av, every day of the year that we commemorate has its own motif, its musical motif. And that's particularly noted in all of the different Kaddises that we have. And each Kaddish has its own musical expression, and you can always tell what day of the week it is. When I hear Yitkara v'yitkara Shemei Rabbah, I know that that's a fast Kaddish that is used to differentiate different parts of the service when we go from the preliminary part of the service to Shacharitz, for instance. Okay? And then when I hear Yitkara v'yitkara Shemei Rabbah, that particular mode or motif is only used twice. It's used on Friday nights and is used also during the Torah service. So I always know on Shabbat, I always know that that's a Shabbat Kaddish. Okay? So the way we sing music in the service, every one of them has a motif, a meaning that designates where we are in the liturgical year. And I always said that if I could be plucked and dropped to any synagogue in the world where I may or may not know the language, but as soon as, and not know what day of the week or what time of year, as soon as I start hearing words of the service, I hear that music and I know exactly what part of the service we're in. I know what time of year it is, what day of the week it is. So that music gives soul and meaning to ideas that words cannot. And this concept is also true with respect to the melody used to read the Torah. As I chanted the first, those three aliyot, you hear strains of what you would consider a tune, but it's really according to a trope. You'll hear that when we do the Shema. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. It's not necessarily just a tune, okay? Each of those words that come from the Torah, and those come from Numbers or Deuteronomy, there's 3 paragraphs, but the trope attached to it, the melody, is attached to a musical notation within the words itself. And there are about 30 trope. I had the great fortune of learning how to understand and sing trope by my cantor when I was in Salt Lake City, when I lived there for 20 some odd years. Our cantor there, Cantor Laurie Loeb, did an adult trope class, and I was able to learn how to chant a Haftarah using trope, Torah readings using trope, and the other 4 systems as well. And it was such a great tool that I could put in my toolbox and use at various occasions in my life. Became very useful when I became a rabbi, because then I'm able to read the Torah according to trope. I'm able to read the Haftorah according to trope. High holidays, Shalosh Regalim, Purim, Tisha B'Av, all of those have their own trope systems. But there's one trope that only occurs in Torah reading. It's the highest and most prolonged trope of them all, called a shalshelet. And a shalshelet sounds like this. It only occurs 4 times in the Torah. Last week, this week, a couple weeks ago. And here's how it sounds. Shalshelet. Believe it or not, that took me about 3 weeks to learn, way back when I started learning trope. But it was also one of the most fun trope to sing. The word shalshelet is from the word shalosh, which is the Hebrew word for the number 3. The sound of this note curves upward and down 3 successive times. Shalshelet. Commentators suggest that when a shalshelet appears, it indicates that someone in this story is wrestling with his or her inner demons and is undergoing some hesitation in his or her actions, hence the wavering. For example, when Mrs. Potiphar attempts to seduce Joseph, Joseph refuses, vayima'en. Although saying no, Joseph at first may have thought about giving in to temptation. The word vayima'en has as its trope the shalshelet. In last week's portion, the angels instruct Lot and his family to leave Sodom. The Torah then tells us that Lot lingered, vayitmama. Lot and his family were leaving their home. This could not have been easy. Even as they left, they hesitated in the end. Lot's wife looks back and is overtaken by the brimstone and fire, turning into a pillar of salt. Atap vayit mama is the shalshelet. In this week's Torah portion, there is a less obvious shalshelet. Abraham's steward is at the well, as we just mentioned in reading of the Torah. Abraham's servant Eliezer is at the well, seeking a wife for his master's son, Isaac. The Torah states, and he said, Vayomar. The woman who will give camels to drink is kind and hence suitable for Isaac. Atop the word Vayomar is a shalshelet. One wonders why. What type of hesitation takes place in that moment? Perhaps deep down Eliezer did hesitate. In his heart of hearts, he may not have wanted to succeed. Failure would mean Isaac would not marry, and Eliezer, being the closest aide to Abraham, would be the next in line to carry on the covenant. Alternatively, as the Midrash suggests, perhaps if he did not find a wife on this journey, Isaac would end up marrying Eliezer's daughter. Either way, lack of success on his mission may have ended up personally benefiting Eliezer. No wonder Eliezer's name never appears in the entire chapter. When he identifies himself as Isaac's future father-in-law, Lavan, Eliezer declares, Eved Avraham Anochi. I am Abraham's servant. It is extraordinary that Eliezer does not identify himself by name, but this omission makes sense as Eliezer works selflessly for Abraham, even at the risk of his own personal gain. The Rambam notes that in many areas, one who wrestles with his or her inner demons or hesitates, but in the end does the principled thing, is on a higher level than one who acts without hesitation. Therefore, Joseph's hesitation doesn't mean he's less righteous, but rather very human. And certainly, the act of Eliezer falls into this same category. Most often when people become involved in an endeavor, they ask, what's in it for me? Eliezer may have asked this human question, but the message of the Shalshelet is clear. There are times we are called upon to complete tasks that may not be in our best self-interest, but we must do them nevertheless. In a world of selfishness, this musical note teaches each one of us the importance of selflessness. Interestingly, the Shalshelet looks like a crooked line that begins on the ground and reaches upward. It is telling us that personal feelings are real and human, but it is also teaching us that sometimes we should abandon those natural human inclinations and reach beyond ourselves. Then we will be able to reach the heavens. This reminds me of a story that I heard back this past April. Pastor Chris Edmonds, who was our keynote speaker at the Alabama State Yom HaShoah commemoration back in April. Pastor Chris told the story of his father, Master Sergeant Rhodey Edmonds, who along with 1,275 soldiers of the 106th Infantry Division were captured during the Battle of the Bulge during World War II. Rhodey was the ranking non-commissioned officer in charge. He was responsible for these POWs who were sent to a stalag and treated not much better than concentration camp inmates. At the point of a pistol at Rhodey's head, the SS commandant ordered Rhodey to separate the Jewish soldiers from the non-Jewish ones. Rhodey, being a Christian, commented to the Nazis, "We are all Jews here." In other words, we're not going to separate. We're going to do the right thing. Rhodey did not know what was going to happen, but he did not hesitate to put his own life at risk. The SS officer backed off and allowed Rhodey to take control of the camp as the Nazis vacated with the American soldiers marching on the outskirts of the town. Rhodey's code in life was choose love, oppose hate, choose goodness, and do the right thing. There was no wavering one way or the other, no inner struggle as to what to do in this situation. Master Sergeant Rhodey Edmonds posthumously was recognized by the state of Israel as a righteous among the nations, Israel's highest honor for non-Jews who risked their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. Rhodey never told anyone about this while he was alive. He never thought that he was doing something courageous. He never thought anything of it. His son, Pastor Chris Edmonds, was told the story by Jewish soldiers whom his father saved. We may all at times wrestle with decisions in life. We do. We should all think about those things we wrestle with And we should all live by Rodi's code. Choose love, oppose hate, choose goodness, and do the right thing. Shabbat Shalom. We will continue with Musaf, page 185. I ask everyone to please rise. For the Musaf Amidah, we will again chant the first three Barachot out loud together, and then you may continue and recite the final four Barachot to yourselves through page 192. Again, we begin page 185. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Zakonei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot Mevi Goel Lifnei V'neihem Laman Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer Foked Mashiach Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Mufaked Sarah Atah Gibor Lilam Adonai Mechayim Itimato Rav Lahoshia Mashiva Ruach Marid Hagashem Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayim Metim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Eserim Umekayim Emunato Lishenei Afar Micham Mocham Bal Givurot Umidom Melach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atalach hayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim Naritzecha v'nakadishcha Kisod siach Tzarfei kodesh Hamakdishim shimcha b'kodesh Kakatu v'yad neviyacha V'kara ze el ze v'yamar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Maloch ha'aretz kevodo, Kevodo, Malei olam, Mishoratav shoalim, Ze laze, Aye mikom, Mikom kevodo, Leomatam Baruch Yomeru Baruch V'Adonai Mimkomo Hu Yifen Merachamim V'Achonam Hamyachadim Shemo Erev V'Voker B'chol Yom Tamid Pamayim B'Yahava Shema Omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Hu Eloheinu Avinu Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Ve'hu Yashmienu, Yashmienu, Barachamav, Shenit, 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 Le'enei Kochai, Le'od Lachem Le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Uvdivrei Kachecha Katuv Le'mor, Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohayich Zion, Ledor Vador, hallelujah. Ledor vador, ledor vador. Ledor vador nagid god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushak na kadish, ledor vador, ledor vador. Ledor vador nagid god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushakta nahaktish, v'shivracha Eloheinu, mipino layamush le'lam voheb, ki omelech kado, ki omelech kado, v'kadosh ata. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushakta nakdish, Baruch ato Adonai, hoi lakadosh. We will continue page 204. With Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Keloheinu, Mi Kadoneinu, Mi Kemalkeinu, Mi Kemoshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, no de Leloheinu, no de Ladonenu, no de Lemalkeinu, no de Lemoshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Atahu Shektiru Avoteinu, Lefahanech et Ketoret Asamim, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu. We rise as the ark is opened for Aleinu, page 205. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liutzer bereshit shelo asan kagoye haratzot velo samanu kamishmachot hadama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lefnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shahu Notei Shamayim V'Yosed Haaretz U'Moshev Yikaro B'Shamayim Mimao U'Shchinatu Zo B'Gavei Meromim Hu Eloheinu Heinod Emet Malkeinu Evezulato Kakatu b'torato v'yadat hayam v'hashivota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'yal haaretz mi tachat ein hod al kin ein huli v'meh b'tivecha d'zachat. Gagadu b'doratech Adonai imloch le'olam v'oed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom ma'hu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. You may be seated. This week we will observe yard sites for Julie Friedlander, Raphael Mars Franco, Bill Johnson, Bennett Lynn Camero, Philip Marks Ruttenberg, Judith Batt, Ida Barinhout, Ida Galinsky, Alex Galinsky, William Klein, Rita Cohen, Hildegard Hess, Sylvan Sachs, David Galante, A. Galante, Mary Ethel Goldenberg, Ralph Hannon, Robert Lieberman, and Sarah Safer. When we send out the yard site announcements, that we read the names of those that are going to observe yard site in the coming week, I ask that if you would like to send in a remembrance of your loved one, I will be more than happy to read them at Shabbat services, put them in our monthly bulletin, and we keep them also in our archive. This remembrance was sent in from Lorraine Lieberman, who is remembering Bob Lieberman. Bob Lieberman was born on April 9th, 1924 in Columbus, Ohio. His parents, Ben Lieberman and Goldie Pass Lieberman, had immigrated to the United States about 10 years earlier. A good student, Bob decided early that he would pursue a career in chemistry. Like most during that time, he worked to support his family during the difficult years of the Great Depression. In 1943, Bob was drafted into the Army of the United States and sent to the Army Specialized Training Program at Princeton University. The ASTP had been established to provide specialized training to intellectually gifted draftees. Bob studied engineering and field medicine while enrolled in the program. When the ASTP program was disbanded, Bob was sent to Camp Carson, Colorado, for basic training with the 104th Infantry, Timberwolf Division. Bob served as a forward observer with the 385th Field Artillery Battalion. The division deployed to Europe in August 1944 and landed in Cherbourg, France. From there, they fought through France, Belgium, Holland, and eventually into Germany, where they liberated the Mittelbau-Dora concentration camp in Nordhausen. Bob would remain a proud timber wolf for the rest of his long life. After his discharge in December 1945, Bob returned to Columbus and earned his bachelor's and master's degrees in chemistry from The Ohio State University, thanks to the GI Bill. While visiting an aunt and uncle in Montgomery, he was set up on a blind date with Lorraine. After a whirlwind courtship primarily by mail, they married on February 3rd, 1962, and spent almost 59 years together. They have 3 children, Bruce, Suzanne, and Steve, and 7 grandchildren. Bob spent his career as a nuclear chemist at the EPA's Environmental Radiation Lab in Montgomery. Although he was a brilliant and widely published scientist, Bob's easygoing personality and sense of humor allowed him to easily interact with everyone he met. He was well known for kibitzing with the employees of Fresh Market and Zelda Road Publix during his outings. And I might add, always saw and were excited to see Irene at Publix on Zelda. Bob was predeceased by one sister, Betty Lieberman James, of blessed memory, and is survived by another sister, Marcia Lieberman Weinbaum. Thank you so much for that remembrance, Lorraine. Those observing yahrzeit and those who mourn, please rise, page 207, for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, B'yoma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv yimaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'mel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitchumam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shmei d'kudsha barichu. Le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'yoma v'yimaru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom v'imramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. You may be seated. Thank you all for joining me this morning. It has been delightful. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you for helping me, for helping us to be able to celebrate this very easy, this expressive service, a way for us to again get rid of our stress from the week and just be able to relax and enjoy each other for Shabbat. I will be back this evening for Havdalah, which will be at 7 p.m. via Zoom. If you did not get the link, please email me, rabbi@agudathmontgomery.com, and I will get you that link. We have a couple guests this evening, as we did last week. I hope you were able to join us last week. Carl Sayers did a parody on the first song of Hamilton, and it was a delight. It was such a delight and fun. Carl will actually be with us not tonight, but next week, where he will be singing another phenomenal song for us. So if you haven't joined us for Havdalah, you might want to join us and see what we are doing, what music we are singing. You are required to do nothing but sit back and listen. You don't even have to show your face. And I look forward to that as we welcome Jews from all over Alabama. And in fact, we have Jews from all over the United States that join us. So I hope you're able to join us this evening. With that, we will go ahead and complete our service, page 211, with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'yachare kichlot hakol levado yimloch nara Adon Olam v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'hu echad v'yein sheni laham shelo lahachbira Adon Olam beli reshit beli tachlit v'lo ozra misra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'hu eli v'chai goeli v'tzorchev li b'yetzara Adon Olam v'hu nisi umanosli minat kusi b'yom mikra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam biyado afkid ruchi b'yetishan v'yair Adon Olam v'maruchi geviyati Adon Oli v'lo ira Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. Shabbat Shalom. My heart goes out to all of you. My love goes out to all of you. Please join us again. See you for Havdalah tonight, or Monday and Thursday services at 7:15. Going back to, or going forward to next Kabbalat Shabbat at 6 p.m. on Friday night. Remember, 2 weeks from today, we have the bar mitzvah of Aaron Aronov, the son of Lori and Owen Aronov, and it should be a lot of fun. This will be family only inside the building, but you may join us live. You may join us online, sorry. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone.